Great. So firstly, I'm so glad to be in this panel. So every time I do a press release on any of the Hurun list, the one thing that I keep on saying is that we need more space tech entrepreneurs. We need more energy transition entrepreneurs. But space tech is one theme that I kept on harping out loud to the media. And when we were planning this event here, I think it's amazing to see all of you in one room. And can I have a big round of applause to all of them? One more round, please. Thank you. And I call it the HAT, LAT, per high altitude tech and low altitude tech, which includes the space and drones. For everyone in this room, could you, in 30 to 40 seconds, could you tell each of us, everyone, what you guys do? Do I go first? Yeah, please.
Good evening, everyone. Firstly, thank you, Anas and Hurun team, for giving this opportunity. Pretty excited to be here and share some of my thoughts. I'm Venkatesh Mudragalla, co-founder and CEO of Aerospace. I spent last 15 years in the aerospace and defense industry. Has been lucky to be at the forefront of India's aerospace growth story. Currently, I'm building Aerospace along with my colleague Vishal. We manufacture critical aerospace components. These are exported to US and Western Europe, going to aircraft engines, aircraft structures. These are all complex materials like inconel, nickel, and cobalt steels.
Nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, hi all. I'm Kiran. I'm the founder and CEO of Indrajaal. So we basically build autonomous infrastructure for sovereign airspace. So everything from 0 to 3 kilometers is low altitude airspace, which you're talking about. So we specialize in organizing that airspace as well as protecting it. So that's what we do, and we do it we currently are doing it for the Indian Navy, we are doing it for the Indian Army. We protect areas like the Andaman Nicobar Islands from drones coming in. Border areas, border security force, pretty much nuclear power plants, oil and gas refineries. So when we look at this, we think every square kilometer of a developed part of the planet has to be protected against low altitude threats. So that's how we look at it, per square kilometer as a unit dynamic, and then go forward. Yeah,
Did you get a lot of calls after the last 2 weeks? Because it should be pretty much a hot topic now.
Yeah, they're like, how many interceptors do you have in your godown? We're like, we don't need more left. Yes. Yeah.
Sanjay.
Hi, good evening. My name is Sanjay. I'm the founder and CEO of Dhruva Space. We call ourselves as a full stack space technology company. So if you look at any space mission, there are 3 fundamental pillars that are required for any space mission. The first one is building the satellite itself, which comes under the space segment. The second is the launch vertical, which is essentially the rocket carrying the satellite and deploying it into orbit. And the third is the ground segment, which deals with operating the satellites once they're in orbit. As Dhruva Space, we are working across these 3 foundational pillars. I think what I'm really proud of today is, I think, we are creating the space tech industrialization base for the country. Today, as a country, we only have 60 operational satellites. There are countries which are launching thousands of satellites every year, and I think we have a lot of catching up to do. And I'm really proud to say that we are building the India space stack for the world.
Absolutely.
Hello all, I'm Bharath. I'm one of the co-founders of Skyroot Aerospace. We build, as Sanjay mentioned, we are in the business of space access technology, which is essentially rockets. We started with a mission to make space access technologies as affordable and reliable as possible. Even today, the rockets are have a 10% failure rate. They're not remotely as reliable as the air flight. So solving these 2 problems will actually enable the plethora of space applications. Currently, the commercialization of space is heavily dependent on cost of space access. And if that reduces by an order of magnitude, the entire globe is going to turn from just an Earth-based economy to a space-based economy. And rocket technology is going to play a key role in this, and we're working towards that from private sector in India for the world.
Great. I think one question is that HAT, LAT, right? And it covers the entire space from ground up. Do you guys collaborate with each other at some point of value chain? Do you guys compete with each other? How does the dynamics work in this panel?
Yeah, we collaborate with each other. So, for example, Skyroot is building the launch vehicles. We would be utilizing their launch vehicles to deploy our customer satellites.
You will be giving the payload for the vehicle.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So we will be utilizing their vehicle to send our satellites into orbit.
Okay. And what about you? With them?
So as of now, not yet, but I see that there is, for our space, there is a lot of regulatory framework that has to be put in place for us to work with high altitude space. And as our systems become more and more prevalent, I'm sure we will have to switch off certain grids for airspace to be accessible. I think that's where, but I think different areas, LAT, HAT. So as of today, no. The answer would be no.
So we don't collaborate at this moment of time, but the kind of capabilities that we are building are usable across the stack because we are a component manufacturer. I'm sure as they scale, we'll find opportunities to work together.
Yep. And so maybe I'll just add a little bit of a flavor over here. So, if you look at it deep down, do space tech companies collaborate with aerospace and defense companies? The answer is yes. I can give you an example. We've built a vendor network of close to about 500 vendors in the Indian ecosystem, and majority of these guys have been suppliers to ISRO, DRDO for several decades. So instead of recreating something, we are utilizing this value chain to cater to the sovereign needs.
I also see a lot of space. For example, when we try to sense if a drone is flying across, let's say the Indian landscape, right? Beyond certain sensors, which is on ground based, eventually we'll have to go to low orbit satellites to give us that input, right? So I see that coming, but are we there yet today? No, right? Yeah.
So I have a couple of follow-on questions. I think the one is you've all decided to build in Hyderabad. You could have built in Bangalore, you could have built anywhere, right? First, why did you choose Hyderabad? And secondly, we've got some of the most enterprising entrepreneurs in AP and Telangana sitting in this room, right? Whenever you're racing for your next round and so on, you should definitely give an opportunity for people in the room to participate and be a part of the story. Have you interacted with them when you were building up the business? How has the ecosystem really helped you on a serious note?
Yeah, I'll take that. And so basically, we started Hyderabad as a wonderful ecosystem for high-tech aerospace grade manufacturing, thanks to the DRDO missile labs here. So one of the key reasons we chose Hyderabad, in addition to our personal affinity to Hyderabad, it is actually the wonderful vendor ecosystem where 50% of our supply chain is in Hyderabad. So that's one of the key benefit of being in Hyderabad. And of course, as a startup, for talent, you need to choose a metro. So Bangalore and Hyderabad were only two options practically. So even though Coimbatore has a good industrial ecosystem, we can't go to Coimbatore to actually get good talent to be based on city. So out of there hardly two choices, frankly, and for infra-wise, Hyderabad trumps Bangalore any day. So that's one of the key choices we made. And just to answer your second question on how it evolved, we indeed got a lot of support. One of our early investors are the founders of the Greenco Group, Mr. Anil and Mahesh, are the early visionary supporters, because when we started our companies, there's no space policy yet. We started just 3-4 years before the space policy. Sanjay even started long back, even before the space policy has come. So at that time, there's a lot of regulatory risk. For deep tech startups, there's already a tech risk and a market risk where every investor need to evaluate. But in addition, there's a regulatory risk at that point. And so the institutional investment ecosystem is not very, it's highly educative effort at that time. So most of the early investment we raised, be it was seed capital from Mukesh Bansal of Myntra and CureFater, and our Series A was led by the entrepreneurs who had the vision to actually believe that this is an eventuality in India and the policy is a matter of time and this ought to be built in India. With that conviction, there are good entrepreneurs like Mr. Anil and Mahesh who have invested early in us, just to give you an example on that.
Great. What about you?
Actually, we incorporated the company in Karnataka, and then we moved to Hyderabad. And for all the good reasons which Bharath mentioned, the ecosystem is quite strong in Hyderabad for manufacturing. The costs are quite economical. More than that, I think access to a lot of talent that does not, talent which doesn't, swing very often from one company to the other. I think that we've seen that here in Hyderabad. In terms of raising capital, I think the early years of raising capital was very tough. We started in 2012. We raised our first round of capital in November 2019. And I must say, there also Hyderabad played a very, very important role. Mr. Ravikant Reddy from the Pulla Reddy family office is on our board. He wrote the check, and then a lot of things followed beyond that. So I think fast forward from 2019, I think 26th of November 2022, we created history launching India's first two private satellites, Thibault 1 and 2. And I think, what I'm like extremely proud of is every part of the satellite was designed, developed, manufactured here in Hyderabad. So I think, there's absolutely no second thoughts. I think we have a fantastic aerospace, space and defense ecosystem in Hyderabad. And we are rooting for Hyderabad to become the space tech capital of India. You already see a launch vehicle company, you already see a full stack company over here. But as you rightly pointed out, I think there's also a lot of capital that sits out of Hyderabad. And probably, if you think space is interesting for you from a long-term perspective, there are lots of companies raising capital, including us.
So for me, I've always been a product of Hyderabad. I was born and brought up here. So I started my first company in Hyderabad 15 years back, right? And then what I'm doing today in Indrajaal is actually deep down, if you look at it, it's an infrastructure business. If you remove all the layers and layers, that it comes down to being an infrastructure business. And I think there's no better place than Hyderabad for infrastructure. I mean, pharma, real estate infrastructure, it's Hyderabad. So I definitely think we're in the right place as an infrastructure company and as a defense company as well, and aerospace. I think these three definitely Hyderabad has a leg up, because I've seen it's also culture, right? I think when I look at Bangalore, when I look at software tech, deep tech, yes, Bangalore, I would choose Bangalore, and then similarly, if, different states for different things. But I would say, as an infrastructure company, I'm very happy to be here and do what we are doing from here.
What about you?
So for me, I'm very similar to Kiran and probably Sanjay as well. I was born and raised in Hyderabad, so Hyderabad is home. So there is a natural affinity to be in Hyderabad. But more importantly, like the gentleman on the panel mentioned, Hyderabad had great infrastructure and more affordable land and all the infrastructure that's provided by the government. Second thing, because of the great ecosystem of engineering colleges that we have a great talent pool that's available in Hyderabad, which makes building the organizations also quicker and faster. Third and more importantly is Hyderabad some way finds a way to accommodate the growth and doesn't get busy like many other cities that we see. I think those are the prime reasons. And fourth and more softer is Hyderabad is a very expat friendly city. And also everybody, I have met a lot of friends, colleagues over a period of time who moved from different cities to Hyderabad who call Hyderabad now home. So Hyderabad has this beautiful ability to accept everyone, make it a great home for everyone.
Amazing. So last question to each one of you. I've heard, I think it's Jensen Wang of NVIDIA was said, if you had known that starting up a company was difficult, he would never have started. And aerospace is even more difficult, During our initial years, to convince an ecosystem of such an opportunity, I'm sure it's tough. I myself have said no to so many LAT, HAT opportunities in terms of investing, but I regret it. But if you were to start all over again, or what is the one thing that you would have wished that someone had advised you before starting up an opportunity in aerospace, specifically aerospace? Anyway, maybe this time we'll change the order. We'll start from you.
Sure. So while I have spent significant amount of time with the Tata Group in the aerospace and defense industry before starting aerospace, for me, after starting aerospace, one thing I've realized was the time that has taken to gain credibility with the customers and the industry has been far longer than what I initially thought to be. See, in aerospace and defense industry, patience is not only required, in a way, I feel patience is a competitive advantage.
Yeah, correct. And you need to be well funded to be patient enough.
Yeah, I think I agree with you 100%. I think the one thing, if patience is one thing but I would say that if something I wish someone told me was that that it doesn't matter how great your technology is, closing the loop on a contract is something else, right? I found that out the hard way. I would say that. I mean, that was the question, right?
Yeah.
Saying that what is the one thing someone told me? I would have saved a couple of years if I knew that early. Yeah.
What about you, Sanjay?
I think, look, the genesis for Dhruva Space was that we are a country with 1 billion people, but there's not a single private company that exists in India building in the space tech domain, servicing the global market. So for me, I was definitely sure that, hey, you know, if I'm going to start the company, you know, the worst that will happen is, you know, the company will not fly, but for sure there'll be a lot of other companies that might come up, right? But in hindsight, now if I were to go back and think about it, I definitely feel that if somebody would have told me that the regulatory body, which now, you know, the opening of space tech, which happened in 2020, it could have been accelerated or, you know, it would take such a long time, maybe I would have thought a little more differently. But I think, you know, I've definitely enjoyed the journey of building this company over the last 14 years, and space rewards patience. And, you know, a lot of things in this industry evolve over a period of time, so it's cool.
Closing thoughts, Naga.
So if there's one thing people would have told me, like told us is like rocket science is rocket science. So this is like when we started mid 2018, we were very ambitious. We thought we wanted to do in 4 years, we wanted to do an orbital launch, but it takes it really takes double the effort, double the time than what you anticipate. Like we wanted to prove why it should be rocket science, but like it is indeed very hard because it's the engineering part of it. Being a system of systems, everything needs to work well in unison. That makes it very hard. And like first 4 years, within 4 years, we reached our first milestone of first private rocket to space into 2022. We have achieved. And after 4 years from then, like now, within a month or two, we are getting ready to launch our orbital launch, Vikram 1. And we hope to succeed in the upcoming mission. Thank you.
Okay, congratulations. Can I have a big round of applause to all for them here? Thank you.